Hello again, everybody. Harry Carey with Steve Stone and Tom Brenneman from Wrigley Field. The first pitch was thrown out by Jack Leahy, who was a nephew of the famous Frank Leahy. Jack is a very prominent insurance executive here in Chicago, and he made a pretty good first pitch. I honestly compels me to report, though, that it would have been a ball and not a strike. Jack is sitting down with Ben Stein behind the Philadelphia dugout. All right, the lineup for the Phillies. Dykstra leads off. Morandini at second today. Kruk at first. Hollins at third. Dalton the catcher. Eisenreich in right. Thompson in left. Stocker at shortstop. And Ben Rivera, who's won 11 and lost 7 with a high earned run average, will be on the mound. Pepsi presents the defensive alignment for the Cubs, which consists of Kevin Roberson in left, Sammy Sosa in center, Dwight Smith in right, Steve Buechele at third, Jose Vizcaino at short, Ryan Sandberg at second, and Mark Grace at first. The hero of yesterday's victory, Rick Wilkins, behind the plate, and Mike Morgan shooting for his 9th victory is on the hill. The Cubs are taking the field. The umpires are, as you see, Mark Hirschbeck behind the plate, Bruce Fleming at first, Mike Winters at second, and Ed Montague at third. If you saw the Sun-Times this morning on the editorial page, you read a fine column by Steve Neal all about Jack Leahy. The headline is Jack Leahy wakes up echoes of MD's legend. He's a keeper of the flame. Leahy, 71, as a nephew, was more like a brother to Notre Dame's legendary football coach, Frank Leahy, who led the Irish to 4 national championships in the 40s and a 39-game undefeated streak. Leahy also coached 4 Heisman Trophy winners and recruited a 5th. In the 20 years since the coach's death, Jack has worked to keep his memory alive. It's a wonderful column. That's just one paragraph I have read to you. Jack was a prep football and basketball star for St. Regis High School in Denver, and he said that his ambition was to play for his Uncle Frank at Notre Dame. Well, today he threw out the first ball, and we're about ready to go with today's game.
Mike Morgan going to the mound for his 26th start of the year, his 3rd against the Phillies. This year he's 1-1, the ERA 3.29. Lifetime against Philadelphia, Morgan has had a lot of luck. He's 7-2, the ERA 2.45, which is outstanding. And he's been in 15 games against him. His last 5 starts have not been so good. He's 1-2, the ERA high at 5.23. Last time out at Montreal, he went 6 2/3 innings, gave up 10 hits and 5 earned runs. His control has been pretty good, but Mike Morgan is the first to admit that physically this has not been his best year. He's had an assortment of ailments, complicated by a back problem. He's had some knee problems, and it's a disappointing year for him, but he figures he's got about 6 more starts left, and if he can win 4 or 5 of those, it won't be quite as disappointing a year as otherwise it would have been.
Well, here's a fellow who certainly has not had a disappointing year, a candidate for the most valuable player of the National League, Lenny Dykstra, hitting .301 with 16 homers, 46 RBI. He has 155 hits, 16 home runs. He has scored 119 runs, and he has drawn 108 bases on balls. So he is a big force in the Philadelphia. There's the first pitch drilled to right field. Fair ball, extra bases. Here's Dykstra on his way to second base. He rounds it. He's going to try for third. The throw. Safe. Now, did you see that? Did you see that? So often we see a guy hit the ball and kind of lope looking at it. Lenny Dykstra was sprinting at top speed from the very first step. The ball is hit in front of him. He's watching the ball as he tears his tail around first base. But all the way he's running hard. And so many guys who have doubled could have had triples if they just ran it out the way Dykstra just did. Here's Mickey Morandini. Norandini hitting .235. Again, the Phillies threaten to take the lead in the first. Dykstra on third, nobody out. Swings at a curveball.
Infield back, except at third base, as Jim Lefevre trying to stay out of the big inning. And the Phillies can put you in a situation to give up the big inning. As we swing around, you take a look at the defense.
Second out. Now, if he can strike out Kruk or get him to pop up, he'd have a chance to not be scored upon this inning.
We'll take a look at a fastball inside, and Morgan does this a lot. The left-handers give up on it. The ball tails back over the inside corner, and Mark Hirschbeck said it was good enough.
And he may have learned that from Greg Maddux, his pal, who goes against the Giants in Atlanta tonight. Dave and Ruby from St. Petersburg, Florida. Friends of Ruby Veal, who got him tickets for the game. Looking on today.
Dykstra looking to score his 120th run of the year.
Pitch a little inside. 2 balls, no strikes.
Dykstra on a pace to score 150 runs, and that is some accomplishment.
Down the line he comes, the pitch. Ball 3. Morgan knows he's got to pitch very carefully to Kruk. Kruk is 5th in the league in hitting, just ahead of Mark Grace. He swung at a 3-0 pitch. Had a good cut but fouled it back. Jim Alexander and Chuck Herrera from Roseville, California, watching the ball game. Ball 4 a little bit outside. Well, he's got Dave Hollins coming up. A double play would get him out of the inning.
This is the supposed weak side for Dave Hollins, although he is very strong from both sides. Left-handed, he's not quite as effective as he is right-handed, hitting just .236 as a left-hand hitter, .344 as a right-hand hitter. However, with the wind blowing out last night, he took it over the center field wall from the left side, where he's hit 8 of his 15 home runs. He has grounded into 13 double plays, however, and Morgan throws a lot of ground balls.
There's a pitch a little bit low. Runners at first and third, 1 out. Dave Hollins, a fine third baseman. Against Morgan, he's hit 2 homers this year. And he's batting .320 against the pitching of Mike Morgan during his career.
Hollins is fanned 87 times, so it can be done as you look at head-to-head competition. So Hollins has had some luck against Morgan, and the outfield plays him straight away with Roberson well off the line and left.
1-1 pitch. Inside. 2 balls and the strike. Dykstra, who led off with a home run yesterday, led off with a triple today. Two balls and the strike. He fouled it back. If this were a 4-game series, he'd have a chance to open the games each time with the cycle. Home run one day, a triple the next day, which is today, a double tomorrow, and a single if there were a first game, if it were a 4-game series. 2-2 pitch. Hey, struck him out on a foul tip, and Wilkins held on to it. So 2 men are out.
Now Morgan 1 out away as Hollins goes down for the 88th time. Morgan kept the sinker low and away. This is a very good pitch, good location, and good movement on this fastball. And Hollins swings at a pitch a foot outside.
And here is Darren Dalton. He's hitting only .185 for his career against Mike Morgan, with 5 out of 27. Line drive, foul.
The Phillies have a record of 147 games without being shut out. The last time they were shut out was by Doug Drabeck back on September 19th of last year. The modern day National League record is 150. That by the Pirates in 1924 and 25. American League record 308 games by the Yankees back from 31 through 1933.
Darren Daulton, the pitch. A little bit outside. Daulton is a movie star handsome kind of a guy. John Kruk at first base. Looks like a rock singer. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ground ball, base hit in the left field. And Daulton drives in his 92nd run of the year, going the other way with the pitch. And Buechele kind of dived for the ball very quickly.
That's the big difference in Darren Daulton. When he became a big RBI man, it was because he used the whole field. He knows there's a lot of base hits to left and left center now. Early in his career, he was a dead pull hitter and really not much of a hitter. Now he's a devastating hitter with great power, but he knows that you have to take the outside pitch to left, as he just did.
Jim Eisenreich hitting .324 for the year. Played with Kansas City. He's helped the Phillies immensely. Ball gets away, but nobody moves. Runners at first and third. The Royal Towers fastball team from New Westminster, British Columbia, are here today. I guess we would call that fastball softball. Line drive, base hit. Here's a run around third. He's on his way to the plate. He'll make it easily. And John Kruk scores as Eisenreich singles at left.
Eisenreich drives in his 46th run, and that's in part-time duty. He takes this right over the head of Vizcaino out into left center field. And so the Phillies, who got off with 2 runs yesterday only to lose, get off with 2 runs today.
I tell you, if the Phillies are to win in the playoffs, they're going to, of course, do it the way they're winning the division, with their bats. All their pitchers have very respectable records, but high earned run averages. And the man who's been pitching the most consistent baseball is former Cub Danny Jackson. He's won 11, lost 9, 3.40 earned run average. One ball, 2 strikes. Runners at first and second. Bruce Massey here from Juneau, Alaska. Once they load all the fellows at Lemon Creek, wherever that is. Juneau, I guess. Milt Thompson, who always has hit well against the Cubs.
Thompson came on as a pinch hitter last night and got a base hit in the 9th inning. And that's not unusual for him.
Ball 3 inside.
Normally you have to beware that Thompson goes back up the middle, and so Morgan will have to be the 5th infielder when he delivers the ball. Milt hits the ball right where it's pitched.
3-2 pitch. The runners are going. Struck him out. So Mike Morgan struck out the side, but in between there was a walk and three base hits. So they get 2 runs, leave 2 on. We go in the bottom of the first. Phillies leading 2-0. Harry Carey back at Wrigley Field. Pepsi presents the Cubs starting lineup of Dwight Smith in right, Sandberg at second, Grace at first. Wilkins moved up to the cleanup spot as a result of the injury to Derek May. Sosa hitting 5th, Buechele 6th, Roberson 7th, and Vizcaíno at shortstop with Mike Morgan pitching. The defensive alignment for the Phillies: Thompson, Dykstra, Eisenreich in the outfield. Hollins, Stocker, Morandini, and Kruk around the infield. Rivera pitching and Dalton catching. Dwight Smith, the count even now, 1-1.
Ben Rivera has been hit very hard this year. His ERA an inflated 5.39. Given up 145 hits in 125 1/3 innings.
Dwight swings and misses.
But Ben knows one thing. When he goes to the mound, his Philly teammates score for him. In his 11 wins, the Phillies have scored him 100 runs.
Ground ball on the first base line, foul. Lish Tepkin from Jefferson City, Montana, here with relatives from Hammond, Indiana. That evens it up.
Now,
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Now Rivera was skipped 1 turn in the rotation, and odds are his control won't be quite as good today.
Ball 3. Dwight Smith went off last night with a double to right. The Cubs scored 3 to take the lead. Swings a high pop fly. Hollins down with the sunglasses, makes the catch. Boy, he kind of staggered under that one. Tough Sunfield.
Last time out, Ben Rivera went just 5 2/3 innings, gave up 10 hits and 7 earned runs to Houston while being tagged with a 7-3 loss. He's been hit hard, but yet the record 11-7, largely due to that outstanding offense behind him, as the Phillies lead the National League in runs scored by 52 over the San Francisco Giants.
Sandberg takes a curve outside. Mrs. Louise Schutz watching a game in Jasper, Indiana. 1 ball, no strikes. That evens it up. Brothers are here from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. John and Ben Bratcher. They're also here from Fayetteville, Arkansas. Radon Kessinger. Here's a pitch outside. Kessinger, I think, was from Forest City, Arkansas. 3 balls and a strike. That makes the count full, 3-2.
Rivera was involved in another very good trade for Lee Thomas and the Phillies. He came over for Donnie Elliott May 28th of last year.
Line drive, deep right center field. Gonna be caught. On the run by Jim Eisenreich. The wind kind of held that ball up.
Eisenreich is one of the most underrated defensive outfielders in the league. You don't hear much about him, and everybody talks about his hitting, but defensively he's about as good as it gets in right field. This looked like a sure double to right center. Dykstra can't get to it, but Eisenreich comes flashing to his right, and he makes the catch.
Here's Grace. Strike call. The next base hit that Mark gets will be the 1,000th of his career. 0-2 the count. This is the 878th game that he's played in the major league, and shooting for the 1,000th hit. One ball, 2 strikes. A little bit outside. Other Cub players. Willie Wilson has 2,191 hits in the major leagues, most of them in the American League. There's a foul ball by Grace. Ryne Sandberg has 2,063. Mark is just about at the same level. Ground ball, second baseman Morandini over to first, 1-2-3. At the end of one, the Phillies lead 2-0.
When you see
part of the Sport Mart advantage.
Harry Carey and Steve Stone from Wrigley Field. Here's Kevin Stocker, the 23-year-old shortstop, hitting .340, better than he ever hit in the minor league. A graduate of the University of Washington. There's a pitch a little bit low. 1 ball, no strikes. Buechele playing a shallow third base. Bouncing ball. Fielded by Sandberg. Oh, the Morgan. What a nice play. And what a beautifully timed throw by Ryne Sandberg.
Very rarely will you see a putout go 1-4, well, 3-4-1 in this case, as Mark Grace gets a glove on it. Sandberg right there, and Morgan from his end getting over to first base. Outstanding effort by Sandberg. Good timing by Sandberg and Morgan on the play. And they just get Stocker, who's not possessed of great speed.
1 out, nobody on. Ben Rivera swings and he misses. Well, Jake Finley, dressed like any business executive would dress. No wild colored pants. There's a line drive in the right field, a base hit. Rivera hit one off the end of the bat.
Arnie Harris says your pants look a lot better today, Jake. He was a little concerned about you yesterday, but today you're back in sartorial splendor.
I tell you look a lot thinner with the coat and pants on, rather than those wild-looking things you had on yesterday.
You didn't like them?
Well, I liked it. I wish I had a pair like that. 1 out, 1 on. Jake, of course, the master domo of the sales for WGN TV baseball and sports. 1 strike and nothing. Roger Lindo, Nathan, Brian, and Aaron from Decatur, Illinois, here to cheer on Kevin Roberson and the Cubs. Lenny Dykstra led off with a homer yesterday, led off with a triple today.
And the Phillies are going to do something that's never been done in the National League, and that's have 3 men with 100 walks or more.
There's a fly ball, right field, going to be caught. Dwight Smith is there. 2 gone. Rivera at first base. And that'll bring up Mickey Morandini. I'd like to welcome Margaret Walsh and all her friends at the Northgate Manor Care Center in Waukon, Iowa. Margaret is anticipating her 80th birthday. And they all watch Cub baseball all the time. Here's a strike call. Michelle and Floyd Burnett are here from the Lloyd's Beaver Lounge in Beaver Crossing, Nebraska. That's one of my favorite towns.
I'd like to pass along birthday greetings to Anna Diderot, 84 years old today, from the WGN crew.
How come our crew members only know the older people? They never give us any names of good-looking young people to talk about. Mickey Morandini, 2 out. There's a drive, way back, way over Dwight Smith's head. Let's see if Rivera can score. They're going to hold him up. I think Larry Bow is thinking more of the fact that he is a pitcher. He didn't want to exhaust them.
Well, another factor is Rivera doesn't have real good speed. He's off with the crack of the bat here with 2 outs, and Dwight Smith gets fooled because Mickey Morandini, not known for his great power, just crushes this ball over his head. But Smitty does a good job of getting the ball back into Sandberg, and Larry Boa, not wanting to gamble, especially with Kruk, Hollins, and Dalton due up in succession, decides to hold him right there at third.
Runners at second and third. John Kruk at the plate, walked and scored in the first. He had 1 out of 5 yesterday, a home run with a man on. Curveball outside. Scott Golick from Portland, Oregon is on hand. 2 balls, no strikes. There's a drive. Going back, Dwight Smith makes the catch to retire the side. Boy, he hit that ball hard. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. We go in the bottom of the second, 2-0 Phillies. Harry Carey back at Wrigley Field. We go in the bottom of the second, and Rick Wilkins, who won the game last night with his grand slam, will lead it off. Harry Callis, who along with Richie Ashburn, Chris Wheeler, what's Andy's last name?
Andy Musser.
Andy Musser do the Philadelphia Phillies games. Harry Callis, by the way, his son is working with the Mets on their broadcast. Todd Callis, another father and son combination. There's Richie Ashburn, and you see behind the post there, that's Harry Callis. He wanted to be remembered to his mother Margaret, watching the game in Lebanon, Ohio. So Margaret, your son sends his love. Here's a pitch in there, a strike call. Harry Callis, many will recall, did Notre Dame football and basketball for several years on Channel 9. 1 ball, 1 strike. A fine broadcaster. Wilkins swings and he misses. He's now 1 out of 15 against Philadelphia pitching, but what a one. A grand slam last night. Ground ball. Morandini over to first. Easy out. You know, Rivera, another product of the Atlanta farm system. He's a pitcher they figured they would never have any room for, and they traded him to the Phillies.
Well, Atlanta was using Ben Rivera out of the bullpen, and the Phillies thought that he would be better suited as a starter. So when they got him over here last May, they did start him, and he was a very good starter in 14 starts for them. He completed 4 games, was 7-3 with a 2.82 ERA for Philadelphia.
Here's Sosa, the pitch outside. Well, the Phillies certainly got the best of the deal with the Atlanta Braves. Elliott's not done anything. Outside, ball 2.
Well, Harry, if you look around the field, you'll realize that the Phillies got the better of the deal with just about everybody they dealt with under Lee Thomas.
Yeah, we discussed that last night. What a great job of general managing he has done, along with his field manager. And by the way, Fregosi is a manager because Lee Thomas picked him too. They worked together with the St. Louis Cardinals organization.
And how about Len Dykstra and Roger McDowell for Juan Samuel? That was a pretty good trade.
Swung and he missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Rivera's an imposing figure of an athlete. 6'6", 25 years old. Weighs 230 pounds.
He's out of San Pedro de Macorís in the Dominican Republic.
I guess I figured he was too big to be a shortstop.
He grew out of the position, Harry, because there are 74 Dominican shortstops in organized baseball. And it seems to me like the fields are very long and thin, Dominican Republic, and that's all they do is field shortstops. But Ben's a little too big for a shortstop, so he went to the mound.
2-2 pitch. Outside, ball 3. Darren Dalton is always being talked about as a good hitter, which he is. But boy, there's nothing wrong with his receiving or his throwing arm either. He's a fine catcher. Whoa! Hit by a pitch ball. So, Sosa's the first Cub to reach base.
Well, that's not very friendly from one Dominican to another. High, tight fastball. Sammy got this one off the inside part of the left wrist, and he wears enough wristbands and padding there to be okay with that one.
There's Buechele, 1 out of 4 last night, hitting .258. 1 out, 1 on. Buechele has had a homer against the Phillies this year, but only hit .200, 5 out of 25. Well, another homer now would tie it up.
Wind blowing straight in today, so it's a little more difficult to hit the ball out of the ballpark than it was last night when the wind was blowing straight out.
Throw to first. A lot of empty seats today. Some of the schools opened up. I imagine that's one of the reasons. A delightful day. Cool. Invigoratingly cool. Throw over there. Boy, they almost got him.
Dick Wilkins of Don McAuliffe Buick on hand, as is Mike Cook of Bill Cook Buick. Sammy looking for another stolen base in his pursuit of the 30-30 club, and that time almost got a little too adventuresome as Rivera just missed him at first.
There goes. Here's a no throw. He steals. Now he's only 5 away, I think.
Well, Harry, it was supposed to be a pitch out, and Rivera didn't pick it up. And you'll watch Dalton. He moved out for a pitch out. Rivera threw the ball seemingly over the outside corner, or very close to it. We'll watch it again. Sammy gets a good jump. Now watch Dalton. He's out for the pitch out. This ball really is over the inside corner. And I think that surprised Mark Hirschbeck enough, so he didn't call a strike. But Sammy Sosa in with his 25th stolen base. He's just 5 away.
Only 1 home run and only 5 stolen bases away from doing something no Cub player has ever done before. Go back through all the rich traditional history of the Chicago Cubs. Nobody's ever been. There he goes again. Here's a throw. He is out trying to steal third. And Dalton throws him out this side.
Well, when you're 2 runs down, I'm not sure about this play. Sammy Sosa trying to steal third. He's gunned down pretty easily. They might have had him at second if the pitch out was a good one. This is a good throw, and Dalton is one of the better throwers in the league.
I wonder if maybe that's the result of being hit by the pitch ball, trying to take out his anger by stealing bases on the pitcher.
I think, Harry, that's a result of not understanding what winning baseball is all about and looking for personal aggrandizement.
So Buechele is on, but there are 2 out. And here's Kevin Roberson out of Decatur, Illinois. Bob Skeffington country. Bob being the Budweiser distributor there. 1 ball, no strikes. Roberson, a switch hitter. Inside. Let's pause here for identification.
You're watching WGN TV Channel 9 Chicago, America's #1 sports station.
Ben Rivera on the mound, shooting for his 12th victory of the year. Outside, ball 3.
When you miss a start, and Ben Rivera did, he was pushed back because he was the least effective of all 5 starters, and apparently the Phillies had an off day. Skipped over Rivera. Didn't make him too happy. And also what happens is you don't have that pinpoint control you really need.
Ball 4. And now here is Jose Vizcaíno, had 1 out of 5 last night.
Cub
Johnny
fans,
Padres trotting out.
Cub fans join the good times and excitement at beautiful Wrigley Field. Plenty of good seats remain for tomorrow's game versus the division-leading Phillies. Or visit the friendly confines on Friday and watch the Cubs battle their arch rivals, the New York Mets. For tickets to any of the remaining games, call 312-831-CUBS. And remember, there are just 11 more home games in this 1993 season.
Final game of this series tomorrow afternoon at 1:20. Then the Mets come to town. Vizcaíno curveball, strike call. Tomorrow, Terry Mulholland for Philadelphia, Mike Harkey for the Cubs. Harkey with a very high earned run average. Bouncing ball, that's easy. Hollins steps on third for the force out. So 2 men are left, no hits, no runs. At the end of 2, it's 2-0 Philadelphia.
A participating advertiser in Cubs baseball is Montgomery Ward, where things are really changing.
Harry Carey and Steve Stone. Here's Dave Hollins, who fanned his first time up. Switch hitting third baseman. Hitting .276 for the year with 15 homers. High pop foul out of play. Listen to the middle of their lineup. Kruk hitting .333, 13 homers, 69 RBI. Hollins hitting .276, 15 homers, 76 RBI. Dalton hitting .252, 22 homers, 92 RBI. It's a hitting ball club. And looking ahead to the playoffs, again Hollins goes down swinging. 1 out. That's the 4th strikeout for Morgan. The Phillies are a cinch with less than 30 games to go there. About 10 games in front. But I don't know whether they're hitting, considering their kind of pitching, can prevail over either the Giants or Atlanta, who may not have as much hitting production, but certainly will have much better pitching. 1 ball, 1 strike. But that's why they play 7 games, to decide who is the better team. There's a drive. Left field going back. Roberson's over his head. And Dalton, who signaled the left to drive in the first run, this time lines a double over Roberson's head to the wall in left field. and he's 2 out of 2.
This one fooled Kevin Roberson. And the toughest ball to play is the one hit right at you. You see Roberson here. He comes in a step and then realizes that the ball is just accelerating over his head. That was a rocket, and Darren Daulton very strong, and showing you that although he was a pull hitter at one point and still can pull the ball as he did last night, he will hit the ball to left and left center with authority.
There's a bouncing ball. This guy in over the first to retire Jim Eisenreich. Eisenreich on the first pitch bounced to Vizcaino. And here is Milt Thompson.
There's platoon systems in left and right for Philadelphia, which is most unusual. Pete Incaviglia not playing today. He platoons in left. Wes Chamberlain not playing today. He platoons in right. And they have awesome production out of both platoon systems.
1 ball, no strikes, 2 out. Milt Thompson at the plate. A tap. Morgan has it, flips over to Grace to retire the side. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. We go in the bottom of the third. 2-0 Philadelphia. Harry Carey with Steve Stone, and Tom Brenneman will be along at the end of this half inning. As we go now in the bottom of the third, Jim Lefevre talking with Sammy Sosa.
Well, he's telling him once you've stolen yourself into scoring position, it doesn't make a great deal of sense to try to steal third. That could have been a very big inning, and Sammy ran the Cubs out of it. You had a couple of bases on balls after he was thrown out. That would have loaded the bases with 1 out. Would have been a completely different inning.
Here's a high fly ball. Under the ball, Eisenreich. Here's the Aflac trivia question. Who was the last Cub pitcher that 2-hit the Phillies? One out, nobody on. Dwight Smith trying to get something going. Ground ball. Kruk has it over to first to Rivera, who's covering for the out.
Cub fans, join Harry Carey, Mark Grace, and Rick Wilkins for the greatest offseason event in all of baseball. It's the 1994 Cubs Convention, February 11th through the 13th at Chicago Hilton and Towers, and sponsored by Pepsi-Cola. Enjoy a weekend of fun with all your favorite Cub players and coaches, both past and present. For more information, call 312-404-CUBS.
Everybody would recall that Mike Morgan did that. First pitch in the dirt. 1 ball, no strikes, 2 out. Then Rivera hasn't allowed a hit. Lost his control in his second. He hit Sosa with a pitch, who stole second and then was out trying to steal third. Buechele and Roberson walked, and Vizcaino bounced out. Two balls, no strike. Tony Gwynn still leads the hitters, 361. Barry Bonds is down to 4th now after leading the league most of the summer. Barry Bonds hitting 338. Kruk right behind him with 333, and then Grace is next with 326. Bouncing ball, left field, base hit. Sandberg singles to left, and here's Mark Grace.
That's a 12-game hitting streak for Ryne Sandberg, who during the course of his illustrious career has had at least 16 hitting streaks of 10 games or more.
2 out, a runner on at first base. Dykstra's leading in runs scored with 120. 15 more than Barry Bonds. One ball, no strikes. Grace had a couple of doubles yesterday. Grace now has 33 doubles. Dante Bichette of Colorado leads the league with 40 doubles.
Not only did Mark Grace hit a couple of doubles yesterday, but he walked 3 times, and his on-base percentage is right at .390, which is very high for a man that hits in the middle of the order as you look at National League doubles.
There's a drive down the right field line. Will it stay fair? No. It goes into the stands in the corner. That would have scored the run. He turned on the ball a little bit too much. Grace leads the team in total hits. Curveball inside. Grace has 159 hits. Tony Gwynn, who leads the league in hitting, also has the most hits, 169. There goes a runner on the 3-1 pitch, and Grace walks as the runners are on first and second, and Rick Wilkins comes up. He bounced out his first time, so he's 1 out of 16 for the year against Philadelphia pitching. But that one hit last night won the ball game. A grand slam. Fouled it back. 1 strike to nothing. A spectator right below us here. Getting a big hand for catching a foul ball. Swung and he missed. He tried to check it, but he had gone around. 0-2 the count. Sandberg at second, Grace at first. 2 men are out. Cubs trail 2-0. Took him out a slow curve over the outside corner. So it's no runs, 1 hit, 2 left. Tommy will be along in a moment. Harry Carey from Wrigley Field, where at the end of 3, the Phillies lead 2-0.
Hi again, everybody. Back with our producer, director Arnie Harrison, Steve Stone. I'm Tom Brenneman on a gorgeous day at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Cubs are behind 2-0, and Mike Morgan not tricking anybody thus far. The Phillies are hitting the ball with authority early on.
And Ben Rivera has had a real tough time of it this year, despite his 11-7 record. His ERA over 5. And Tommy, today looks like he has his good stuff.
Not bad. He's only allowed 1 base hit as Rivera, and that was Ryan Sandberg, extending the hitting streak to 12 games. Rivera has walked 3 batters, hit a batter. But the Cubs took themselves out of what could have been a big inning when Sosa got thrown out at third with only 1 out back in the second. Three and 1 to Kevin Stocker. He bounced out 3-4-1 back in the second inning on a nice play by Sandberg backing up Grace. It's on the ground. Easier play for Rhino this time, and Stocker out of there to begin the 4th inning. Well, the wind is blowing in off Lake Michigan at 17 miles per hour. So it's going to be tough for the long ball to be much of a factor today, and it's a good thing for Mike Morgan the wind isn't just idle, period, because the Phillies might have 2 or 3 long ones already. That ball is foul behind the plate. Rivera had a single into right field his first time up.
I think what makes the Phillies stand out is the fact that they lead the National League in walks. They had 542 coming in, Tommy, but 3 of their finest hitters are 3 of the guys that are the most selective: Dykstra, Dalton, and Kruk. Kruk's now walked 96 times, Dalton 99, and Len Dykstra 108.
Well, you throw Dave Hollins into the equation, they have 4 of the top 7 walk leaders in the National League this season.
And we've had a lot of guys talk about, well, you can't take the aggressiveness away from a ball club. There are not many teams as aggressive as Philadelphia, but they're selectively aggressive, and that makes them pretty good hitters.
And it adds up to a lot of runs. This team has a chance to score over 900 runs before this season is over. 1-2 to Ben Rivera, and he's out of there looking on strikes. Number 5 of the day for Mike Morgan. Two down, nobody on. Here's Len Dykstra. On the first pitch of the game, he tripled down in the right field corner, scored on a 2-out single to left by Darren Dalton, and then Dykstra flied to Dwight Smith in the second inning. Dykstra plays the game and just comes out here ready each and every day as though he were shot out of a gun. This guy is on the move at all times. 2 balls and no strikes.
Whatever you pay Lenny Dykstra, you have to believe that he is well worth it. Not only is he the catalyst of this team, but he gives you everything he's got every play of every day, and that's all you can ask of a player.
Grace will make the pickup on the short hop, go to the bag, and Morgan has his perfect inning for the first time today. After 3.5, Cubs are trailing the Phillies 2-0. Well, we're back at Wrigley Field in Chicago. A recognizable face here in the Windy City. Head coach Joey Meyer of the DePaul Blue Demons. And once again here on Channel 9, we'll be doing 10 DePaul Blue Demon basketball games beginning the 7th of December against Bradley at the Horizon. How you been, and how are things looking for the upcoming year?
I enjoy the offseason. No worries. Well, there's some worries, but not as many. So I'm looking forward to this year. We got some young kids that I think have got a year of experience, and we recruited some players I think are going to help us. So I think we're going to be much better this year.
I had a chance to do a number of your games last season, and I know you guys made tremendous progress at the end of the year, playing well in the tournament. And you have some good players coming back from last season. I really like that Brian Bowden.
Yeah, we have some talented players. You know, we had too many young players last year. They didn't know what it took, and you know how tough our league is with Cincinnati, Memphis State, and Marquette, and people like that. So I think they were a little too inexperienced. Now I think they'll be more experienced, and we got some players coming in to help them.
Dad doing all right?
Yeah, he's doing great. He's with me at the ballpark here. You know, he goes everywhere. The man, he's unbelievable. He's going to be 80 this December, and he acts like he's about 50.
Well, the best of luck, Coach, and we'll look forward to seeing you here on Channel 9 throughout the season. And again, nothing but the best.
Thanks a lot, Tom.
Joey Meyer, our guest, the head coach of the basketball DePaul Blue Demons, gearing up for a season that'll get started in November.
Sammy Sosa leading it off, to be followed by Steve Buechele and Kevin Roberson, as Jim Lefevre tries to find a way to break through against Ben Rivera and the Philadelphia Phillies.
Bills in front by a pair, and Sammy checked his swing and held back. It goes to a full count. Well, we saw Jim Lefevre having a conversation with Sammy Sosa in the dugout a little while ago after he attempted to steal third, was thrown out with 1 man out in the second inning.
Well, obviously talking to Sammy about getting the Cubs taken out of the big inning.
Sammy out on strikes. That's the first strikeout of the afternoon, for second strikeout rather, for Ben Rivera.
This is ball 4 up and out of the strike zone, but Sammy can't check his swing. And he will probably fan somewhere in the neighborhood of 140, 150 times this year. That is strikeout number 105.
Steve Buechele drew a walk, was stranded at second base back in the second inning. He looks at a strike from Rivera. Phil's got both runs in the first inning off Mike Morgan. 2-out run scoring singles by Darren Daulton and Jim Eisenreich.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the stuff of Ben Rivera. Of late he's been pounded, but today it looks like he's found the magic once again.
Well, he certainly has been a big disappointment in terms of the way he has pitched by and large this year. Nothing wrong with the 11 wins, but giving up better than 5 runs per 9 innings this season. That ball caught by the second baseman Morandini. He went up the ladder to get it. Had the timing on his leap perfectly.
Mickey Morandini is 5'11". If he was 5'10", he wouldn't have had this one, as he goes up top of his jump and hauls it in. And Morandini is much the best of the glove men at second base. However, he cannot hit with Mariano Duncan. That's one of the reasons why he lost his starting spot.
That ball fouled out of play by Jose Vizcaíno or Kevin Roberson. I apologize. Roberson walked his first time up.
You have a very devilish grin on your face, which means that I probably am not going to like your piece of correspondence that you're clutching in your hot little hand.
Well, you're not going to like it. I'm going to save it until the 5th inning, like you normally do for me during our Any Questions segment when you drop the bomb in my lap. Roberson out of there on strikes, and Rivera has his second perfect inning of the game. He struck out 3. We've played 4. 2-0 Philadelphia.
A participating advertiser in Cubs baseball is Buick and your local Buick dealers. Remember Buick, the new symbol for quality in America.
Tom Brenneman back with Steve Stone at Wrigley Field in Chicago. A 2-0 Phillies lead as we open the 5th. It'll be Morandini, Kruk, and Hollins against Mike Morgan. The Cub pitcher has given up 2 runs on 6 base hits. Morandini has one of them, a double, over Smitty's head in right field back in the second inning. He struck out looking in the first. 2-0 to Morandini, and it goes to 3 balls and no strikes. Morgan has walked 1. The only batter he walked was Kruk in the first inning, and he scored a run. And there's ball 4. Well, I received a card today from Howard and Joyce Wildeboer. It says, "Dear Tom, here is a contribution to the Steve Stone Engagement Ring Fund. However, I was thinking with all his comments about your height, perhaps a Steve Stone Stilt Fund would also be appropriate. You guys do a great job. P.S. Considering Steve's age, do you think the stilts should be equipped with training wheels?"
Oh, geez.
I like that very much.
That is very cool. Are you sure you didn't have one of your relatives send that?
That ball on the ground to Grace. He'll get one. Relay throw, and not there. It pulled Morgan away from the bag. He's going to say he got his foot down, but the first base umpire Bruce Fremming saying
Take another look at it and watch the play at second base as Mickey Morandini goes in hard. Mike Morgan trying to locate the bag. Does he drag it across the bag? Didn't look like it from that angle, but Mike Morgan was closer to it than we were, and he says he got it. We'll watch it again as Morgan trying to locate the ball and the bag. Well, he definitely dragged his foot over the top of it. Now, whether he hit the bag or not, it's hard to tell. Let's look at it from this angle. Looks like he, of course he got it. You could see the dust. So Mike Morgan was right. But Bruce Fremming, of course, doesn't have the benefit of hindsight, and we had 3 different angles to finally discern that. So it does not go as a double play. And let me burn that, Tommy. Let me burn that correspondence.
Not a chance. I want to thank Howard and Joyce for sending that in. And boy, how appropriate. Talking about your age and your height. High in one area, very low in the other. It's 0-1 to David Hollins. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and throw away the check so you can cancel that one out. It goes to 1-1 on Dave Hollins. I like that a lot. We're getting all kinds of contributions to that engagement ring fund.
Well, it's been that kind of a year. I keep getting trolls, you keep getting checks. Doesn't seem equitable somehow.
I like my position in that. 2-1 the count now on Hollins, who has struck out twice.
Dave Hollins had a bone removed from his hand earlier in the year. Missed exactly 1 month. He's back with a nasty scar in his right palm, and he says it does affect him when he's throwing the baseball.
That ball hit by Sandberg into right field. Kruk thought about making the turn, but he'll hold at second base. So the Phillies now with 7 hits in the game. They have 2 on with 1 man out here in the 5th, already ahead 2-0.
Well, unfortunately, that hand injury does not affect Dave Hollins when he hits the baseball. And now Mark Grace goes to the mound to talk with Mike Morgan. Darren Daulton has just did a lot of damage to him, driving in his 92nd run in the 1st inning, hitting a rocket in the 3rd inning. So Daulton, who normally would be considered a pretty good double play man, has found a couple of holes against Mike Morgan.
Daulton tied with David Justice in the National League race for the RBI championship. Daulton led the league last season. He is 8 behind Barry Bonds, who picked up number 100 last night. Fastball missed away. Well, Barry Bonds and his mates opened a big 3-game series tonight in Atlanta. Giants and the Braves, with San Francisco holding a 4.5 game lead. Swift against Maddox tonight. 2-0 to Darren Daulton.
Surprisingly, and this is really an amazing statistic, Darren Daulton's only grounded into 2 double plays this year and 407 at bats.
This might be number 3. Vizcaíno, Sandberg. Nope, they're not going to get him.
Well, the ball was hit so hard, Tommy, that Sandberg, who was playing Daulton to pull, couldn't get to the bag in time. He came to second base. He wasn't under control, and you can see him right here. He's just running too quickly to turn and set and get anything on the throw. So Daulton does not ground into his 3rd double play of the year. He has above average speed for a catcher. And watch Sandberg again as he comes across the bag. Took him a while to get there, and that's why they couldn't turn 2.
It's a good play by Grace right there to keep that ball from going into the dugout. So here's Eisenreich. Runners on the corners, 2 men out. He had a 2-out run scoring single to left center in the 1st. Well, what a job this guy has done since coming over from Kansas City.
And he's probably the best player in this league that you never hear about, Tommy. Nobody ever mentions his name. And yet defensively, there are not too many better in right field than Jim Eisenreich. And of course, that batting average at .324 coming in is nothing to scoff at.
1-1.
Jim suffered from Tourette's syndrome, which is a very difficult thing to get over. But if you're a Major League Baseball player, it's close to impossible. And he's fought his way back and is putting together a banner year. You know, Tommy, there was a time when they thought that Jim Eisenreich would never play again, and nobody could understand what he had. I remember early in his career, he was just an outstanding hitter. But the Tourette syndrome just got in the way, and he had to actually retire from baseball at a very early age.
That ball hit hard into left center field. Sosa and Roberson there. They nearly collide. Roberson making the grab, which ends the inning. A hit, 2 left. Middle of the 5th, still 2-0 Phillies. Later tonight on WGN, a very beautiful woman goes off in search of some very exotic adventures. Bo Derek and George Kennedy star in Bolero tonight at 11:30 on WGN Channel 9.
I'd like to send along best wishes to a friend of Tommy and mine, Linda Carnes, a service person from Max's Deli who waited on both of us. She came down with a knee injury. Tommy and I had breakfast. Tommy was kind enough to pick up the check, left the tip. Linda thought it was so small she chased after him and turned her knee.
Yeah. Morandini throws out Vizcaíno to begin the inning.
So we wish her well in her recuperation.
Linda knows better than that.
Boy, I never saw her move so quickly as she was running after you, Tommy.
No, actually, you left her a tip. She slipped and fell because she couldn't believe it.
Mickey Morandini is a fine fielding second baseman, and given the opportunity to play every day, he just didn't hit this year. So Mariano Duncan, who was utility player, moved in as the everyday second baseman.
There's strike one to Mike Morgan, who flied to right fielder Jim Eisenreich, leading off the third inning. Phillies in front 2-0 in this game 2 of a 3-game series. The finale coming your way here on WGN tomorrow. And we invite you to be with us as always. Mike Harkey against the National League's All-Star Game starter, left-hander Terry Mulholland. Mulholland has slumped since the break. 1-2 now to Morgan.
Rivera is throwing a good hard slider today, and that's probably been his best pitch.
And there it is right there. Strike 3. Morgan becoming the 4th strikeout victim of Rivera today. Well, these are the kinds of games that Jim Fregosi and the pitching coach Johnny Padres figured they could count on from Ben Rivera coming into the season, the way he pitched last year after coming over from Atlanta.
Well, credit Johnny Padres and Jim Fregosi with deciding to start Ben Rivera. He was a full-time reliever with Atlanta. Really was the odd man out in their bullpen. The Phillies got him. He started 14 games, went 7-3 with a 2.82 ERA. Now, he completed 4 of those 14 starts, and here was a man that would have never got an opportunity with Atlanta. So sometimes it depends on the chance you get. He couldn't get his chance with the Braves. He got it with Philadelphia, and he's made the most of it.
Smitty has popped to third and bounced out Kruk to Rivera. It's a count of 1-1. The only runs came into Philadelphia first. And they got a pair off Morgan. There's another good breaking ball. There you see Johnny Padres, a former Dodger.
He was visited by a friend of his, Johnny Logan, fine infielder with the Milwaukee Braves many years ago, and a nice fella at the ballpark today.
That wasn't a bad trio in the Dodger rotation of Koufax, Drysdale, and Padres.
I think you could put Koufax, Drysdale, and Billy Barty and call it a good trio, as long as Koufax and Drysdale were 2 of the 3.
Ball 4 to Smith. 4th walk of the game issued by Ben Rivera. And all have come with 2 men out. There you look at former Cub manager, albeit a brief stint, John Vukovich, and many believe he'll get another full-time shot one day.
There was a time when a lot of people felt that John Vukovich was going to be the everyday Cub manager. That was in the final year of Dallas Green. Then some problems with Dallas Green, perhaps saying he wanted to go back down on the field. There was some confusion, and the long and short of it was that Dallas was gone, John was gone, and now Dallas is once again a major league manager. And we will see him in the not too distant future as the Mets come to town.
Day after tomorrow, be playing under the lights here at Wrigley Field Thursday night, then afternoon games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then the Cubs will only have 6 home games left this season. That'll come September 17th, 18th, 19th against the Marlins, and the 20th, 21st, 22nd against the Cardinals. Want to know the count on Sandberg, who extended his hitting streak to 12 games with a single through the hole back in the 3rd inning. It's the only Cub hit.
Well, tomorrow we will give away the Cubs MVP for 1993, and that's the fans' vote of the Cubs MVP. And Tommy will be doing the promo no longer, although perhaps a ceremonial promo a few times between now and the end of the year.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Just to get used to it.
I wouldn't bet on that. Nope. We'll practice at home the night before we begin that again next season. If there is a next season for some of us.
Oh, there will be.
You never know. I'm very brokenhearted that it's coming to an end. Sandberg fouling it back.
He fouled it back off the mask of Darren Dalton for the 2nd time in as many days. Darren Dalton gets shaken up. We'll watch it again. Hitters don't mind doing this on occasion. Lets the catcher know that they're thinking about him. Catchers, of course, hate it because it is startling.
Two and two to Sandberg. Two men are out. Smith leading over at first, and the Cubs trail the Phillies 2-0 in the fifth. There goes a runner, and the ball is in the dirt. So Smitty will get credited with a stolen base, and he moves into scoring position for Sandberg.
And there's the difference. Rivera with 10 wild pitches would have had 11, but Smith was running, and when a man is running, you can't charge the wild pitch. You have to give him credit for the stolen base, and that's number 8 for Smitty this year.
Three-2 to Sandberg. Cubs a chance to get on the board, and that ball lined in the center. Dykstra will make the play, and that'll get out of the inning for Ben Rivera. No hits, 1 left, and a 5. Still 2-0 Philadelphia. Very animated partner here today, Steve Stone. I'm Tom Brenneman as we begin the 6th inning. 2-0 Phillies. Milt Thompson, Kevin Stocker, Ben Rivera due up. That one lined into right, but Smitty is there and makes the grab for the first down.
Good play by Dwight Smith. That's not an easy play. That's a sinking line drive. It was hit like a rocket off the bat of Milt Thompson. But Smitty there to make the play. There's a great disparity in the wins and losses of Mike Morgan this year. In his 8 wins, the ERA below 2, but in his 12 losses, as you would expect, the ERA 5.82. And look at the runners per 9 innings. There's the real difference. Pitching through almost 15 runners per 9 innings is close to impossible. You can't throw that many double play balls.
And Morgan, not too long ago, got on the hitters about not getting him enough runs in his starts this season. Well, that's all fine and dandy if you're going out there and have about a 3.20 ERA and less than 500 record. But when the ERA is just a hair under 4, it sometimes is not the wisest thing to say. 3-0 now to Kevin Stocker.
That's a feather in his cap.
It's Tom Treblehorn's little boy. Little Treb.
Or Little Horn. And the bullpen up and going for the Cubs.
Three and 1 to count, and Stocker a bouncer back up through the middle. It gets into center for a base hit. Jose Guzman and Greg Hibbert are the pitchers down in the bullpen throwing right now for the Cubs.
Well, they're just getting in some loosening up between starts. And last night you take a look at the bullpen, and the bullpen was absolutely magnificent. That was the big difference in the game, because after Frank Castillo got pounded early, Bosky, Scanlon, McElroy, Bautista, and Plesac came in, and they threw spotless baseball against a tough offensive club.
Rivera, one of the best bunters in the league, and he'll lay down what is his 12th sacrifice this season, advancing Stocker to second base. Runner at second, 2 men out. Stoney's here in between pitches trying to bail out of a bet that he made with me the other night.
You're besmirching my character, but they're not going to besmirch the character of Len Dykstra, because they're going to put him on first base and take their chances with Mickey Morandini.
Morandini today is 1 for 2. He struck out in the first inning, doubled to right in the second. He drew a walk in the 5th. But with Dykstra just above 300 and Morandini less than 240, you can understand this strategy with first base open.
Another walk for Len Dykstra, who draws number 109.
So 2 aboard for the Phillies here in the 6th inning, already with a 2-0 lead. Dykstra at first, Stocker at second base, Morandini the batter. And it's taken down low for a ball. Very shallow and left and center. Roberson and Sosa. Smith about a step or two in and right. And Morandini hit one over his head into right back in the second inning. It goes to 2-0. Morgan ready. 2 aboard, 2 men out, and there's a strike that paints the outer edge.
Morgan right at the 91 pitch mark. The outfield fairly shallow and around toward left center with Roberson well off the line and left.
2-1 offering to Morandini. It goes to 3-1 with John Kruk waiting on deck. Looks like Morgan is trying to be oh so fine with a light hitting Mickey Morandini, and there is trouble due up next. The 3-1 pitch, and it's foul. Well, now the runners get started. Morandini has to believe he's going to get something pretty good to take a whack at right now with Kruk waiting.
And with the outfield shifted the way they are, with Dwight Smith playing straight away right, but a big gap in right center. If Morandini does pull the ball, it's going to score 2 runs easily.
3-2 delivery. Runners go, and he dumps it foul. Third base side of the upper deck. Boy, what a lovely day it is here in the Windy City. Temperatures much cooler than they have been of late. Started with a game time temperature right at 70 degrees. Sun shining brightly and nary a cloud in the skies above. Again, the runners go, and Morandini drills one by Grace into right. 1 run scores. Dykstra on to third. So the strategy does not pay off. The intentional walk to Dykstra. Morandini makes him pay with an RBI single, making it 3-0 Phillies.
It's another fastball, and you got to figure with John Kruk coming up next, you're going to have to throw fastballs to Morandini. That's where a 235 hitter becomes a 300 hitter. He knew he was going to get a fastball 3-1. He pretty much was guaranteed getting a fastball 3-2. And Morgan put himself into that position by being too fine on the outside corner early in the count. So Morandini drives in his 30th run. The Phillies now have a 3-game cushion. Best road records in history for a Philadelphia Philly team. And you can see 1976 standing at the best.
That 76 team won 101 regular season games, and they were swept in the playoffs by Cincinnati.
And you remember that team, Tommy? Greg Luzinski on that team, Mike Schmidt, Larry Boa. I think Bake McBride was on that team.
Dave Cash
and Bob Boone. Tough team they had.
They were very good. There's a leaping grab by Sandberg to take away a hit and another Philadelphia run. But the Phils do get one on a pair of hits, leaving 2. Kruk thought he had one, but Sandberg says no. 3-0 Phillies after 5.5. Cubs now trailing by 3 as they come to bat in the last of the 6th against Ben Rivera. Grace to begin things and looks at ball 1. Grace has bounced to second and drawn a walk.
That was an outstanding play by Ryne Sandberg. John Kruk already figured he had his 70th run driven in, but it was not to be.
Stocker will get there. Will the throw? No. Infield hit for Mark Grace, and that is career hit number 1,000 for Mark Grace. You see he's asking for the baseball. The 1,000th hit, and this is 879th career game.
And the fans here in Wrigley Field give him a big hand. Mark Grace is a big favorite in Chicago. And number 1,000 came on an infield hit. A good effort by Kevin Stocker. He made a play like this last night and he got the out, but Mark Grace just a step too fast. Stocker in the hole. Off balance throw. He kind of loops it over there, not able to get that much on it. And Grace beats it out.
So Grace is 1,000th career hit, and it comes to begin the 6th inning.
We'll watch Ryan Sandberg as he takes a sure RBI and base hit away from John Kruk. He goes way up to get this one. Well-timed leap, angling his body and robbing John Kruk and saving Mike Morgan.
Rick Wilkins, a hero last night when he slugged the grand slam home run, the first in his career in the bottom of the 11th inning. It came against Roger Mason. Wilkins told me before the game today he did not realize until the moment when the ball went over the fence for the game-winning hit that he had not had a hit all season long against these Phillies. Said it popped into his mind at that very instant.
Rick Wilkins said before the game that they would work on a pair of sunglasses because he thinks his eyes are light sensitive, and that's one of the reasons why he doesn't hit quite as well in the daytime.
While we have a moment, let's step aside for a station ID on the Cubs television network.
You're watching WGN TV Channel 9 Chicago, America's #1 sports station.
Back at Wrigley Field, I'm Tom Brenneman with Steve Stone, our producer director Arnie Harris, and our associate producer is Joe Corneo. That one popped into shallow left center. It might fall. It will. Race on to second base on the bloop single to left center by Wilkins.
Rick Wilkins doesn't hit it hard, but he puts it in a good spot. He couldn't have thrown it out there any better as he dumps it over the head of Kevin Stocker and right in front of Milt Thompson. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Chicago National League Ball Club, which has a right of approval of the announcers and is intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Chicago National League Ball Club is prohibited.
Cubs down 3-0. But Grayson Wilkins opened the sixth with back-to-back singles, and here's Sammy Sosa. He has been hit by a pitch, stolen a base, been thrown out trying to steal another. He struck out his last time in the fourth, and Rivera deals him a strike. Sammy has been in his worst slump of the season here of late. Ever since August the 18th when he hit his 29th home run, he has gone 8 for his last 40. Trouble here. Stocker, Morandini, double play. On to third goes Grace. Cub fans with more than 5,000 votes cast, Mark Grace is still leading in the race for Cubs MVP 93 with 38% of the votes. You still have time to get the number and dial it up. 1-900-82-GO Cubs. Remember, your vote benefits WGN TV's children's charities and Cubs Care. It is $1.45 per call, and all proceeds benefit charity. So just be ready with your favorite player's uniform number. We'll name the winner mañana.
And that winner will be on the leadoff man.
Here's Buechele after the big double play ball off the bat of Sosa. Strike one.
This year, for whatever reason, Tom, the Cubs have had runners at first and second, nobody out, so many times that have come away empty. It's just been unbelievable.
That one will drift out of play, and Rivera jumps in front of Buechele at 0-2. Well, it's not a team that will hit and run much. And when you don't do that, you put it on the ground, you're asking for trouble, and that's the way it's been all season long.
Sammy grounds into his 10th double play. The Cubs, the team, have grounded into 111 double plays this year.
Buechele has walked in line to second. Morandini took away a hit, and that one came up and in.
It's a good way to protect the outside corner. If you sense a hitter is leaning over looking for the ball away, you just sail that fastball up and in, and it makes that outside corner just a little bit bigger. So let's see if Rivera goes out there this time.
Race at third, 2 men out, 1 ball, 2 strike pitch to Buechele. It's in the air, and this should end the inning. Eisenreich calling off Dykstra, and he makes a grab. That'll do it. So the Cubs had a chance. They come up empty. 2 hits, 1 left. Terry back in the 7th. 3-0 Phillies after 6.
Hello again, everybody. Harry Carey with Steve Stone and Tom Brenneman. We go in the top of the 7th. The Phillies are leading 3-0. And here's Dave Hollins to lead it off. Sandberg brought the top of the 6th to a close with a great leaping catch of a hard line drive off the bat of John Kruk with 2 men on. Here's a strike call. Well, we have a note and a couple of nice caps from the Illinois Corrections at Dixon. Lieutenant Eubanks and Sergeant Nicholas. The Dixon Correctional Center. Are they correcting us?
You never know, Harry. Just in case, we have the hats.
A captive audience, says Arnie. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Or Mike Morgan been in trouble constantly, but they've only scored 3 runs. You got to get some offense. There's a line drive, fine play by Mark Grace, who got his 1,000th hit of his career. And when he got that hit in the bottom of the 6th, he became the first Cub player today to get on base to start an inning. Rivera had been perfect until then and retiring the first man up every inning. Here's a high pop fly in foul territory. Dalton is retired, 2 away. And here Jim Eisenreich. 2 out. The pitch is outside. Bouncing foul.
The platoon system for the Phillies has been unbelievable. In left field, Incaviglia and Thompson, 26 home runs, 108 runs driven in. In right field, Eisenreich and Chamberlain, not far behind him.
Here's a high fly ball center field. And that retires the side. 1, 2, 3. We need some runs. We go in the bottom of the 7th. The Phils lead 3-0. Kevin Robertson takes a curve strike. And that's what Kevin is seeing a lot of these days. Rivera swung and he fouled it back. 0-2 the count. Robertson walked in the 2nd. Struck out in the 4th. Outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, the rooftops are pretty well populated. Cold curve, he fooled him. Boy, you can bet he learned that pitch from Johnny Padres, their pitching coach, who had a great change when he was a fine left-handed pitcher for the Dodgers. There he is right there. 1 out. Vizcaino. Vizcaino for 2. There's John Vukovic. He used to be a coach for Dallas Green in the Cubs organization. And he came within about maybe 1 day of becoming the manager of the Cubs. 1 out.
Willie Wilson in the on-deck circle. He's going to go on pinch hit for Mike Morgan. And Chuck McElroy throwing in the bullpen. He's going to come on to pitch.
Strike call to curveball. Boy, this Rivera has good stuff. 3 balls and a strike. Strike 2 called. 3-2. High fly ball. Dykstra's there. Makes the catch. And here's Willie Wilson coming out as a pinch hitter. Wilson is 8 out of 33, 250 batting average as a pinch hitter.
Mike Morgan went 7 innings, gave up 9 hits and 3 runs. He fanned 5 and he walked 3, 1 of them intentional. So not a bad outing by Mike Morgan. After a shaky first, he righted the ship, but his offense did not come through for him today.
Wilson takes the strike. A ball and a strike. Time getting short for the Cubs. 2 out in the bottom of the 7th. There's a high pop fly on the infield. Stocker's there to retire the side at the end of 7th. 3-0 Philly. Harry Carey back at Wrigley Field. And Chuck McElroy, who pitched 2 fine innings yet last night, will face Milt Thompson, who's nothing out of 3. Strike call. The Cubs have 2 more innings, the 8th and the 9th. They'll start with the top of their batting order. There's a base hit. So Thompson, who ordinarily doesn't play against left-handed pitching, stays in the ball game when the left-hander comes in and gets the first hit of the day off of him.
Well, briefly, we went over the left field, right field platoon system and bears repetition. Incaviglia and Thompson, 26 home runs, 108 driven in. They're hitting .324. On the other side in right field, Wes Chamberlain, Jim Eisenreich hitting .314, 18 home runs, 84 runs driven in. And when you get that kind of production out of the 2 power positions in left and right field, you're doing something.
Runner at first. Here's Kevin Stocker batting right-handed.
Here is today's official attendance: 19,951, 19951.
Well, the Cubs' average per game goes down today. The paid attendance is 19,961. And the final game with the Phillies tomorrow afternoon at 1:20. And then Thursday night, the New York Mets are here for a night game against the Cubs. Dallas Green and the Mets.
Thompson with decent speed, but not overwhelming. He's stolen 9 bases, been caught 4 times.
Here's a pitch under a strike call.
Stocker's pretty good contact hitter and a much better hitter from the right side, although his power is as a left-hand hitter. Right-handed, he's hitting .413.
Boy, I'm just looking at the Mets. They're last in the National League East. 9 games behind the expansion Florida Marlins. They have won only 46 games while losing 85. How the mighty have fallen. Look at that. I bet you Lenny Dykstra can look at that standing. and kind of chuckled to himself. Wonder if perhaps they should have liked his personality, because he is a tremendous ball player. Thompson at first, 3 balls and a strike. Throws the first. McElroy pitched 2 innings in relief, 2 fine innings last night. Ball 4. Stocker walks. The first 2 men are on.
And Rivera is a very good bunter. He has 12 sacrifices, and odds are he'll be laying one down here. So Dan Plesac getting ready. Larry Boa meeting with Ben Rivera. He's going to tell him that Buechele's going to be charging him quite a bit at third, and Grace will do likewise at first. And Billy Connor's out to the mound to talk with McElroy to get him to throw strikes.
The Cubs won last night 9-6 when Wilkins hit a grand slam in the 11th, and Dan Plesac was the winner. Plesac now has won 2, lost 1. Rivera up there to bunt, and does. The only play, first base. A sacrifice for Rivera, his 2nd of the game.
Rivera now pulls 2 ahead of Danny Jackson in laying down sacrifices, and he is an outstanding bunter.
No, Danny Jackson's record is only 11-9 for a team 9.5 games in front. But they are raving about that he's really been their best pitcher, in that he gives you a 6, 7, 8 good innings every outing.
And despite the lefty advantage that Chuck McElroy has, Jim Lefevre shows you the respect that they have for Len Dykstra. For the 2nd straight time, they're going to put him on first base via the base on balls, and for Dykstra, it's walk number 110. His on base percentage is right around .423. And Harry, you mentioned last night, and I think you're right, that when you talk about premier leadoff hitters in the National League, I think you would have to say that Len Dykstra has supplanted Brett Butler as the number 1.
Yeah. All right, the bases are loaded now. Well, all you have to do is look at the stats that they show you, what the team's record is without Dykstra playing and what it is when he is playing. And he's a candidate, in my mind, for the most valuable player in the league.
Mariano Duncan's coming on, and Jim Fregosi is trying to put it away. Morandini sits down. Duncan comes on, just 1 for 7 with a couple of runs batted in as a pinch hitter this year. But he's driven in 58, hitting .272 in 101 games.
And Duncan had 2 out of 5 last night, scoring a run and driving one in. A good hitting infielder, and here comes Jim Lefevre. That's going to be all
The new Cubs pitcher will be Dan
for
Plesac.
Chuck McElroy and Dan Plesac, who won the game last night, will be coming in to pitch to Mariano Duncan. We'll have more in a moment. Dan Plesac, there you see his record. One thing about it, Mariano Duncan, while a fine hitter, has hit with 13 double plays, and if Plesac can get him to hit the ball on the ground, he could get out of this inning. It's getting late, and the way Rivera is pitching, even three runs might be too many.
Plesac pitched the 11th inning last night. He struck out 1, threw a perfect inning, and was rewarded with a win on the grand slam by Rick Wilkins. There's a look at Mitch Williams. who has authored 36 saves this year. Been in 52 games, and if this one stays at a 3-run lead, he will probably come in the 9th inning to pick up a save. If the Phillies do start to pull away, Mitch probably will not pitch in a non-save situation.
Mariano Duncan. Boy, to get out of this jam without being scored on might provide the inspiration for a rally in one of the 2 remaining innings that the Cubs have. They trail 3-0 right now. Swings, fouls it back. 1 strike and nothing. Everybody else plays tonight, including the Giants at Atlanta. Greg Maddux against Bill Swift. 1 strike and nothing. Bases loaded. A little bit outside. A ball and a strike. Marandini had 2 out of 3 driving in a run. The last run was driven in by him. Swings. And he misses. And Plesac's ahead of him now. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The home plate section is in shade. Shade of the stands is darker there. The ball's coming in out of the bright sunshine into the darkness around home plate. Line drive, base hit into center field. 1 run in. The ball gets away from Sammy. The third man's trying to score, and he is safe. How about that Dykstra? He scored all the way from first base.
Well, I don't know what possessed Sammy Sosa to catch this ball barehanded, but it goes as another error on Sosa, who is not having one of his better games. We'll take a look at this. Sammy decides to barehand the ball. He just plain misses it, and it's just flat out hustle by Len Dykstra. Would have scored 2 runs. Sammy has a glove on his left hand, chooses not to use it, and just misses the ball. So that goes as error number 7 for Sosa.
So all 3 runs have scored. Boy, that Dykstra. Whether he's running from first to home or whether he's running from home to first, he's always running hard. And not many players, even though Sammy bobbled the ball, could have scored all the way from first base on a line single to center. One ball, 1 strike. John Kruk, who's 0 for 3, robbed of a hit on a great leaping catch by Ryan Sandberg his last time up.
Mariano Duncan has now driven in 60 runs for the year.
Well, I tell you, there's never anything like the execution of the player to make a manager's strategy look great. If you bring in the pitcher and he gets a side out, you're great. You take out your left-hand hitter who's had 2 out of 3 and has driven in a run. Take him out for a pinch hitter. He delivers a 2-run single. An error may allows the 3rd run to score. 2 balls, 2 strikes. I would imagine the strategy of all managers about on a par. Some have better horses, they have better results. 2 balls, 2 strikes. A high foul ball out of play. It's now a 6-0 game. And Rivera will be going for his first shutout of the year. Look out, almost hit him. Rivera hasn't pitched a complete game or a shutout this year. Strike 3. Kruk called out on strike. 2 away. And Dave Hollins will turn around to hit right-handed.
This is a strong side for Dave Hollins. He's a natural right-hand hitter and a much better right-hand hitter, hitting .344 as opposed to .236 from the left side.
The outfield shades him towards the left. Strike call. Plesac used to be with Milwaukee. The inning started with a base hit by a left-hand hitter facing the southpaw, McElroy. Ground ball. Whoa! Right through Buechel's leg. Another run will score. And Hollins winds up at second base. A two-base error by Buechel.
It's only the 7th error this year by Steve Buechel as this one goes right by him. No run batted in.
And it's 7-0.
Steve never got a glove on it. You don't see that very often.
Here's Darren Dalton, 2 out of 4 with a run batted in his 92nd of the year. Duncan goes to the water cooler after scoring. Phillies lead 7-0. Strike call. The Cubs are leading in the year's play between the two teams, 4-3. So the Phillies can tie it up at 4-4. He swings and he misses. You know, this Dalton, for a guy who's been catching as much as he catches, still can run very well. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. Hollins in scoring position. Outside. Ball 2. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
When you say he can run very well, Harry, he's been to bat 409 times this year, grounded into just 2 double plays, and that's almost unbelievable for a catcher.
Sure is. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Hey, swings and foul tips the ball. Boy, he had a smash of Vizcaíno in the 5th. Looked like a cinch double play. But he was safe at first on the force out. Good-looking fellow. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Boy, he gets a good cut up there, and he hits the ball everywhere. He's come a long way.
Wasn't too long ago when Darren Dalton had his knee torn up on a play at the plate, and that put his career in jeopardy. He went through a couple of years where he was just a disaster. But since rehabilitating that knee, he's been outstanding. He had 194 in '87, 208 in '88, 201 in '89, and then he started to hit.
He strikes him out. So 4 runs, 2 of them unearned score. We go in the bottom of the 8th. The Phillies are leading 7-0. Harry Carey back at Wrigley Field. Steve, we had a couple of changes here. Kim Batiste is now playing third base, and Mariano Duncan is at second base. I think Jim Fregosi showed you something in that inning. Here he had a left-hand hitter who he usually platoons with Incavigne in left field to lead off the inning with McElroy pitching. If he's going to pinch hit, if he's going to try to add some offense, you'd think he'd go to his bench. Well, he lets Thompson hit for himself. He opens the rally with a base hit. Then later on, with the bases loaded, and Morandini, who had driven in the run in the 6th, coming up, he puts in the pinch hitter with the left-hander on the mound. The pinch hitter is a right-hand hitting Mariano Duncan, and he gets a big base hit. Strike 3 call, and Dwight Smith is out of there in a hurry.
Rivera has used that big slow curveball to great advantage today. He has really neutralized the left-hand hitters just by throwing the slow curve, catching the outside corner. He got Smitty looking that time. He got Roberson looking in the 7th, and Rivera, who came in with an inflated ERA of 5.39, has been in command the whole way today.
He's fan 6. Here is Sandberg. He's hit the ball hard all day long. Lined out to Eisenreich his first time. Signaled to left his second time. And lined out to Dykstra his third time. 1 out, nobody on. 7-0. Phillies. There's another hit for Sandberg. And he's 2 out of 4. And boy, he's been whacking that ball pretty good of late. That hit's probably worth about 2 percentage points. He was hitting 307 going in. He's probably hitting around 309 right now. 1 out. Grace double play ball, and Duncan tags Sandberg, throws the ball to first to complete. So we have 8 full innings played, and the Phillies are leading 7-0. Harry Carey and Steve Stone as we go into the top of the 9th, and it's all Philadelphia. It's the Philadelphia story today. And that would even up the series a game apiece, making tomorrow the rubber game of the series.
Bob Scanlon comes into the game now. At 3-5 ERA, 5.09 on for the 63rd time.
Everybody talks about what the Cubs need is better pitching, which seems to be a foregone conclusion. But you have to wonder how in the world they're going to get it. If you're not going to go into the free agent market where a lot of pitches are going to be available, but you're going to have to add an awful lot to your payroll. You're going to face another bad year. If the pitching isn't good enough this year, it doesn't mean that when they become 1 year older, they're going to be better.
That's what they say about young pitchers, Harry. You give them a year. But the only thing that the added year guarantees you with a young pitcher is that he's going to be a year older. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be a year better. It certainly depends on the pitcher.
2 balls and a strike. High pop foul. Jim Eisenreich, who is 1 out of 4. He broke in with Minnesota. Then went to Kansas City. Strike 3 call. Eisenreich called out on strike. He had some nervous disorder or something.
Tourette's syndrome.
What's that?
Well, what it does, Harry, is it gives you a lot of facial tics and noises that come out. It's very difficult to overcome, certainly for a person who is working at a normal job, let alone a Major League Baseball player and a hitter to boot. And Jim Eisenreich worked long and hard on it, and he's back, and playing very well.
Yeah. Does that mean anything because your eye constantly twitches?
There's a lot of symptoms that go with it. It's a tough disease.
Yeah. Now the pitch a little bit inside. Here's Milt Thompson, who started it all with a base hit in the 8th inning. 2 balls and a strike. Scanlon fanned the first man he faced. Ball 3. Three balls, 2 strikes. One out, nobody on. Foul ball out of play. Mike Harkey against Terry Mulholland tomorrow. 3 balls, 2 strikes. 1 out. Struck him out swinging. 2 strikeouts in a row for Scanlon. Plesac fan too while he was in there. And here's Kevin Stocker, the fine-looking young shortstop. We're in the top of the 9th. Phillies lead. The Phillies will extend their lead in the Eastern Division to 10 full games over Montreal, which plays later tonight. A little low. Stocker has had 1 out of 3 in the ball game. There's a line drive in the center field, a base hit. And Stocker continues to amaze even the Phillies by his hitting. He was known for his defense.
Well, Larry Boa, who knows where he speaks, being a great Major League shortstop, describes Stocker as a man who knows how to play the game, has great instincts for the game, tremendous footwork. And you're right about them being surprised about his hitting here. Here's a man who was hitting .233 when they called him up. And there's a look at one of the past greats and perhaps a future great, as they think Stocker's going to be here at least 10 years.
And I think you're looking at a guy also who's coaching for the Phillies, Larry Boa, who certainly earned the right to become a Major League manager again. He got his first chance maybe a little too soon in his young career as a manager.
You know, Larry's the first to admit, Harry, that he made a lot of mistakes. He was impatient with his players. He didn't really understand what it took to handle the players in a clubhouse situation, said some things in the press that he probably regretted. And he said that he's the first to admit his mistakes, and he's hoping for another shot.
Here's a pitch, strike call. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, I tell you, nobody will ever outthink Larry Bowa. There's a tap. Grace has it, steps on the bag. So we go in the bottom of the 9th. It's do or die, and the Cubs trail 7-0. Harry Carey back at Wrigley Field. We go in the bottom of the 9th, and Ben Rivera has a chance to pick up his first shutout of the year and his first complete game of the year, and his most important, his 12th victory of the year. And here's Wilkins to lead off against him. Wilkins with 1 out of 3. Boy, this guy's pitched a wonderful ball game. He's only given up 4 hits.
Well, assuming he goes on to win this game, and it looks like he will, barring a miracle finish by the Cubs, he will have won 12 games while losing 7. And in the 12 games that he will have won, the Phillies will have scored him 107 runs. And so he certainly cannot complain about offensive support.
Swings and he misses.
That's the one pitch that Wilkins has trouble on, and that's the breaking ball, either the curve or slider, low and in from the right-hand pitcher. If he can ever learn to lay off that one, he is going to be a lot tougher than he is, which is pretty tough already.
Rivera and Hayes struck out Wilkins' call, and that strikeout number 7. The Buick summary up to date. Phillies lead 7-0. Grace got his 1,000th career hit today. Rivera's last complete game last year, September the 26th. And Sandberg has extended his hitting streak to 12 games in a row. Here's Sosa. You know, Rivera pitched a shutout for the Phillies last year when he won 7-3. Pitches out over the outside corner, and he's in the hole. How about that? That's strikeout number 8. Look at the line on Rivera. 8 2/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, no runs, walked 4, struck out 8, made 127 pitches, and looks like he could go another 9.
I don't think he's broken a sweat yet, Harry.
Well, it is kind of cool today.
But this man has really been in control today. His ERA way up there coming in. Had a disaster last time out against Houston, but he's a different pitcher today.
Bouchel, who is fanned and has not fanned today. He's trying to end it by striking out the side. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
This is by far the best breaking ball that Rivera has had all year long.
Hey, stuck out the side to end the game. Bouchel called out on strikes. 1, 2, 3. We'll be back with more in a moment. The Budweiser play of the game happened the very first inning with Dykstra on at third base. Darren Dalton grounded the single to left, scoring Dykstra, and that's all they needed. And they went on to win it 7-0. Budweiser play of the day. The producer director of Cubs baseball is Arnie Harris. The coordinating producer is Bill Borson, and our associate producer Joe Corneo. The Phillies and the Cubs play the rubber game of the series tomorrow afternoon, and our telecast on Channel 9 begins with a leadoff man at 1 o'clock. Stay tuned now for the 10th inning. Harry Carey from Wrigley Field. So long, everybody.
Chicago Cubs baseball on Channel 9. The Cubs are brought to you by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. True Value Hardware Stores. Got a tough job to do? You can do it with True Value Hardware Stores. Buick and your local Buick dealers. Remember Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. And by the Chicago Tribune, Chicagoland's choice for sports, daily and Sunday.